Welcome to another episode of Tech Dose by Review Hub. I'm Gary.
And I'm Maya.
And we are diving deep into the Nothing Phone 3A Pro.
Yes.
We've had a ton of articles and reviews. You sent over a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And this phone is making a splash.
Yeah, it really is.
For delivering features you'd normally only find on those pricey flagships.
It's shaking things up.
Right?
Especially with that signature transparent design.
Oh, yeah, that's the Nothing thing.
That Nothing is known for.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little. The see-through back is definitely eye-catching, but I'm curious, is it just a gimmick?
Right.
Or does it actually add to the user experience?
Yeah.
And you mentioned Panda Glass. Break that down for me.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
So it's definitely more than just a visual trick. The Panda Glass back is a step up in terms of durability, especially compared to older models that used plastic.
Okay.
So think of it like this Panda Glass is designed to resist scratches and everyday wear and tear much better than regular glass.
Cool.
So you can show off that cool transparent design without worrying too much about damaging it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
But I've always wondered, wouldn't a transparent back make fingerprints and smudges super obvious?
That's a fair point. Fingerprints are definitely more noticeable.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's a trade-off a lot of people are willing to make for the unique aesthetic.
Okay.
And hey, a quick wipe with a microfiber cloth keeps it looking sharp.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about that Glyph interface. Those LED strips on the back,
Okay.
what's the deal with them? Are they just a fancy light show?
Right.
Or is there more to it?
They're actually quite functional.
Okay.
The Glyph interface acts as a visual notification system.
Oh.
Each light strip corresponds to different types of alerts, like calls, messages, or even app notifications.
Okay.
You can even customize the light pattern so you know exactly what's happening without even looking at your screen.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty handy when your phone is face down. You can still get a sense of what's going on.
So it's not just a cool design element. It's about creating a more intuitive way to interact with your phone.
Exactly. It's about giving you more control and making notifications less intrusive. Plus, it just looks cool.
I'm sold on the cool factor. But I have to ask, all this tech packed into a transparent back, wouldn't that make the phone quite bulky?
You are right. It's not the slimmest phone out there.
Yeah.
At 211 grams, it's definitely got some heft to it.
Mm.
But for a lot of users, the unique features and design outweigh the extra weight.
Speaking of features, let's talk about the camera, particularly that periscope lens.
Yes.
You don't see that every day, especially on a phone in this price range.
Yes.
What's the impact of having a periscope lens on a phone like this?
It's a game changer for mobile photography, especially when it comes to zoom.
Okay.
Unlike digital zoom, which basically just crops and enlarges the image,
Right.
leading to a loss of quality.
Right.
A periscope lens uses a system of prisms and mirrors to bend light, giving you much clearer zoomed-in shots.
So no more blurry, pixelated images when you're trying to capture something far away.
Exactly. The 3A Pro boasts a 50MP periscope telephoto lens with 3x optical zoom.
Wow.
And you even get 6x lossless zoom, which means you can zoom in up to 6 times without sacrificing image quality.
Oh, wow.
Think concerts, sporting events, or even just trying to get a good shot of your kids playing at the park.
Right.
This lens lets you get closer to the action without compromising on detail.
That's impressive, especially for those of us who aren't professional photographers.
Right.
Now, besides the periscope lens, what else stands out about the camera setup?
Well, the 50MP primary sensor is pretty impressive too.
Okay.
It uses Tetra 2-pixel technology, which essentially combines 4 pixels into one larger pixel. What that means for you is better low-light performance.
Okay.
Those larger pixels capture more light, so even in dimly lit environments, you'll get brighter, more detailed photos.
So this phone is a low-light photography champ. And what about video recording?
Yes.
Can it handle 4K?
Absolutely. You get 4K video recording across all the lenses, including that 50MP front camera, so your selfies are going to be crystal clear.
Okay, I'm seriously impressed with this camera setup. Nothing seems to have gone all out to deliver a top-notch photography experience.
Yeah.
But what about the brains of the operation? Can this phone handle demanding games and all my multitasking needs?
It's powered by the Snapdragon 7's Gen 3 processor, which is a decent performer,
Okay.
but not the most powerful chip in its class.
Okay.
It does offer a 33% improvement in CPU performance compared to the previous generation.
Okay.
So everyday tasks like browsing emails and social media will feel smooth and responsive.
So for the average user, it's more than capable.
Yeah.
And for those who push their phones a bit harder,
Right.
what about the RAM? How much does this phone pack?
You get a generous 12 GB of LPDDR5X RAM.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. You can virtually expand that up to 20 GB.
Oh, wow.
This means you can have tons of apps open, even demanding games, and the phone won't break a sweat.
So multitasking shouldn't be an issue at all.
Yeah.
What about the display?
Yes.
How does it stack up?
The display is a real treat. It's a large 6.77-inch AMOLED screen with a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate.
Hold on, break that down for me. What does a 120 Hz refresh rate actually mean for the user?
It basically means the screen refreshes 120 times per second,
Okay.
resulting in incredibly smooth scrolling and animations. Everything feels super responsive, especially when you're gaming or scrolling through social media. And with the peak brightness of 3000 nits, you can easily see the screen even in bright sunlight.
So it's a display that caters to both productivity and entertainment. What about gamers? Any specific features that cater to them?
Gamers will appreciate the 1000 Hz touch sampling rate. That means the screen responds to your touches, almost instantly giving you a competitive edge in fast-paced games. It's like the difference between a regular mouse and a high-end gaming mouse.
Yeah.
Every millisecond counts.
Wow, that's impressive. That sounds like they've thought of everything.
Okay.
Okay, Maya, let's switch gears and talk about battery life. How long can we expect this phone to last on a single charge?
The 3A Pro has a 5000 mAh battery, which is pretty standard for smartphones these days.
Okay.
With average use, like browsing social media, some calls and texting, you should easily get through a full day without needing a charge.
And when you do need to juice it up, what are the charging options?
It supports 50W wired charging, which is pretty fast.
Okay.
You can get from 0 to 50% in about 22 minutes.
That is fast. But I'm guessing there's no wireless charging.
Unfortunately, no. It seems they've skipped that to keep the cost down.
That's a bummer. But I guess you can't have it all. Now let's talk about the software experience. The 3A Pro runs on nothing. OS 3.1 built on Android 15.
Right.
What sets this operating system apart from the crowd?
Nothing has taken a minimalist approach with their OS.
Okay.
It's clean, bloatware-free, and very user-friendly. You get a lot of customization options like monochrome themes and widget-packed lock screens, but it still feels very close to stock Android.
So it's a balance between customizability and keeping things simple and intuitive.
Right.
But what about updates? How long will this phone be supported?
This is where it gets interesting. Nothing is promising 6 years of software support for the 3A Pro.
No.
That's 3 major Android updates and 6 years of security patches.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
In the mid-range market, most manufacturers only offer 2 or 3 years tops.
Right.
What's the rationale behind this long-term support?
Well, I think they're acknowledging that people are holding onto their phones for longer.
Yeah.
Phones are getting more expensive.
Right.
So it makes sense to offer extended software support to keep the phone feeling fresh and secure for years to come.
And of course, from a sustainability standpoint, longer phone lifespans are a good thing.
Absolutely. It reduces electronic waste and aligns with a more eco-conscious approach to technology.
Okay, before we move on, I have to ask about this essential space feature. It's been mentioned in a few of the articles you shared, and it sounds pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
Can you explain what it's all about?
Sure. Essential Space is a dedicated AI-powered hub that you access through a physical button on the phone.
A physical button. That's interesting. So it's a separate space within the phone.
Exactly. It's designed to make multitasking easier by intelligently organizing your screenshots, voice memos, and app clips.
So it's like a centralized hub for all those bits and pieces of information that we often need quick access to.
That's right. And the AI comes into play by helping to sort and categorize this content, making it easier to find what you're looking for. It learns your usage patterns and suggests content it thinks you might need.
It sounds like a personal assistant for your phone.
Right.
But you mentioned upcoming features. What else can we expect from Essential Space in the future?
Nothing has hinted at features like camera capture and smart collections, which will further enhance the functionality of Essential Space. They're keeping the details under wraps, but it definitely seems like they have big plans for this feature.
So they're not just releasing a feature and forgetting about it. They're actively developing and adding to it, which is great to see.
No.
Okay, Maya, let's talk price.
You're right.
How much damage will the Nothing Phone 3A Pro do to our wallets?
The Nothing Phone 3A Pro starts at $29,999 in India, which is about $459 in the US.
That's not bad at all for a phone with these specs and features.
Right.
But it's facing some tough competition, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the other phones in this price range that we should be considering?
One of its main rivals is the OnePlus Nord 4.
Okay.
It's a close call in terms of features and performance.
Yeah.
but the Nord 4 does boast a slightly more powerful processor.
Interesting. So it's a tough choice between raw power and those unique nothing features.
Exactly. It really comes down to your priorities and what you value most in a smartphone.
Okay, folks, we've covered a lot of ground, from the phone's distinctive design and that intriguing Glyph interface to its impressive camera capabilities, especially that periscope lens. And of course, let's not forget that incredible 6 years of software support, which is almost unheard of in this price range. But we're just getting started. We'll be back after a short break to delve deeper into some of the more nuanced aspects of the Nothing Phone 3A Pro.
Sounds good. I think what's really fascinating here is how Nothing is carving out its own identity in a market that's, saturated with smartphones.
Right.
That transparent design is a bold move.
Yeah.
Most companies are playing it safe.
Right.
With sleek, minimalist aesthetics.
It's like they're saying we're not afraid to be different.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, do you think this transparent design trend will catch on?
Right.
Or is it just a nothing thing?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We've seen transparent designs before. Remember those see-through Game Boy colors?
Oh, yeah, those were a blast from the past.
They were cool, but they didn't exactly revolutionize the gaming world.
Yeah, but it seems like Nothing is really committed to this design language, refining it with each new model.
Exactly. They're definitely making a statement.
Yeah.
And it seems to be resonating with consumers. We're already seeing other brands
really?
trying to incorporate transparent elements into their designs.
So maybe they're onto something.
Yeah.
Now let's dive a bit deeper into that periscope lens. You explained how it works, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the practical advantages.
Yeah.
Can you give us some real-world scenarios where this lens would really shine?
Imagine you're at a concert, way back in the crowd,
Okay.
and you want to get a close-up shot of the artist on stage.
Right.
With a regular phone camera, you'd probably end up with a blurry, pixelated mess.
Right.
But with the 3A Pro's periscope lens, you can zoom in 3 times optically, getting a much clearer and more detailed shot.
Okay, that makes sense. No more grainy concert photos.
Yeah.
What about other situations?
Think wildlife photography. You're on safari trying to capture a shot of a lion in the distance.
Right.
That periscope lens lets you get closer to the action without disturbing the animals or putting yourself in danger.
Or even just everyday moments with your family.
Yeah.
You're at the park and your kids are playing in the distance.
Right.
You can stay back, let them have their fun, and still capture those precious memories in sharp detail.
Exactly. It's about giving you more flexibility and creative control as a photographer without having to lug around a bulky DSLR camera.
And you mentioned that the primary camera sensor is also pretty impressive, especially in low-light conditions.
Yes, that Tetra 2 pixel technology really makes a difference. By combining pixels, the sensor can capture more light,
Right.
resulting in brighter, more detailed images, even when you're shooting in dimly lit environments.
So no more blurry nighttime shots.
Exactly. We'll be able to capture those atmospheric evening scenes with much better clarity.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the Snapdragon 7's Gen 3 processor, while decent, isn't the most powerful in its class.
Right.
How does that translate into real-world performance? Would the average user notice any lag or slowdown?
For everyday tasks, browsing social media, emails, even casual gaming, the 3A Pro will feel smooth and responsive.
Right.
But if you're a power user who's constantly pushing the phone to its limits with demanding games or heavy multitasking, you might notice a slight difference compared to a phone with a higher-end processor.
So it's a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
For most users, the performance will be more than adequate.
Right.
And you did mention that generous 12 GB of RAM, expandable up to 20 GB.
Yes.
That should help keep things running smoothly, even with multiple apps open.
Absolutely. The RAM is definitely a plus.
Yeah.
Especially for those who like to jump between apps or have a lot of tabs open in their browser.
Now let's talk about the battery.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it should last a full day with average use.
Right.
But what about those of us who are a bit more glued to our phones?
Sure.
Can you give us a sense of battery life based on different usage patterns?
If you're a heavy user, streaming videos, playing games constantly on social media, you might need to top up the battery before the day is over.
Okay.
But with moderate use, you should easily get through a full workday without any issues.
And when you do need to charge, that 50W wired charging will get you back up to speed pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely convenient. Imagine you forgot to charge your phone overnight. A quick 20-minute charge in the morning will give you enough juice to get through most of the day.
Okay, moving on to software. We talked about the minimalist design of Nothing OS and those impressive 6 years of updates.
Right.
But let's delve a bit deeper into that essential space feature.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's a dedicated AI-powered hub,
Right.
but what does that actually mean for the user experience?
Think of it as a personalized space within your phone where you can access and organize all those important bits of information that you use frequently.
Yeah.
Screenshots, voice memos, app clips. It's all right there at your fingertips, accessible through a dedicated physical button.
So no more digging through folders or trying to remember where you saved that important screenshot.
Exactly. And here's where the AI comes in. It helps to categorize and organize this content, learning your usage patterns and suggesting content that it thinks you might need. It's like having a personal assistant for your phone, keeping everything tidy and easily accessible.
That sounds incredibly useful, especially for someone like me who's constantly taking screenshots and making notes.
Hmm.
And you mentioned that nothing is actively developing and adding new features to Essential Space.
Yes, they've hinted at upcoming features like camera capture and smart collections, which suggests they have a vision for making Essential Space even more powerful and intuitive.
So it's not just a gimmick, it's a core part of the Nothing OS experience that they're committed to evolving.
Right.
Now let's talk about competition.
Yeah.
You mentioned the OnePlus Nord 4 as a key rival.
Yeah.
What are some of the other phones in this price range that we should be considering?
Well, Samsung and Xiaomi both have a strong presence in the mid-range market, but they haven't released anything that quite matches the unique appeal of the Nothing Phone 3A Pro.
So Nothing is really carving out its own niche,
Yeah.
offering a blend of style, innovation, and affordability that's hard to beat.
Exactly. And that's what makes this phone so intriguing. It's
Yeah.
not just about specs, it's about offering a different kind of smartphone experience.
Okay, we've talked about the design, the camera, the performance, the software, the price, and even the competition. But let's step back for a moment
Right?
and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How does the Nothing Phone 3A Pro fit into the current smartphone landscape? Is it a game changer?
It's definitely shaking things up.
Yeah.
You know, we're already seeing other brands trying to imitate Nothing's design language.
Right, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Which is always a sign that they're doing something right.
But what do you think is driving this shift towards more unique and distinctive smartphone designs?
I think consumers are tired of the same old boring designs. They want phones that reflect their personality,
Yeah.
phones that stand out from the crowd.
Right.
And Nothing is tapping into that desire with its bold, transparent aesthetic.
So it's not just about functionality anymore. It's about expressing yourself through your tech.
Exactly. And that's a trend I think we'll see more of in the future.
Okay, let's talk about the target audience for this phone.
Yeah.
Who do you think Nothing is trying to reach with the 3A Pro?
I think they're going after a younger, tech-savvy crowd, people who appreciate design and innovation, but who are also budget-conscious.
Right. Those who want a phone that's both stylish and affordable.
Exactly. They're not afraid to experiment, to try something new.
Yeah.
The 3A Pro is for those who want a phone that's as unique as they are.
Okay, Maya, before we wrap things up, let's talk about the future of smartphones. What are some of the trends that you're seeing emerge, and how do you think these trends will shape the mobile landscape in the coming years?
One trend that's definitely on my radar is the development of foldable phones.
Right. We've seen a few foldable phones hit the market, but they're still pretty expensive and not quite mainstream.
Exactly. But the technology is rapidly improving, and I think we'll see foldable phones become more affordable and accessible in the near future.
So it's just a matter of time before we're all folding and unfolding our phones.
And then there's the continued evolution of artificial intelligence, which will play an even bigger role in our smartphones.
We're already seeing AI used in everything from camera features to battery optimization, even in this Essential Space feature we were just talking about.
And it's only going to get more sophisticated. We'll see AI-powered features that we can't even imagine right now.
So the future of smartphones is all about pushing the boundaries of innovation, blurring the lines between what we thought was possible.
Absolutely. And companies like Nothing are at the forefront of this innovation, constantly pushing the envelope and challenging the status quo.
We love hearing different perspectives. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on something that really stood out to me from the research you sent, those 6 years of software updates. That's a huge deal, especially for a mid-range phone. Most companies are only offering 2 or 3 years at best. Do you think this is the start of a trend toward longer software support?
I think it's a sign of things to come. Consumers are holding onto their phones for longer these days, and manufacturers are starting to recognize that.
It makes sense. Phones are getting more expensive and people aren't as quick to upgrade as they used to be.
Exactly. And from a sustainability perspective, it's a win-win. Longer phone lifespans mean less electronic waste.
Right, it's good for our wallets and good for the planet. But there's also the security aspect to consider. The longer a phone is out in the wild, the more vulnerable it becomes to those nasty security threats.
That's true. Regular security updates are essential for patching vulnerabilities and keeping your data safe. And it's not just about protecting your personal information, it's about ensuring the overall stability and functionality of the phone.
So those 6 years of security updates that nothing is promising are crucial, not just for keeping the phone running smoothly, but also for protecting users' privacy.
Absolutely. It shows they're committed to providing a secure and enjoyable user experience for the long haul.
Okay, Maya, I think we've covered all the bases. We've explored the design, the camera, the performance, the software, the price, the competition, and even the future of smartphones. Is there anything else you think is important to highlight before we wrap things up?
I think what's important to remember is that the Nothing Phone 3a Pro is trying to offer something different. It's not just another phone in a sea of sameness. It's making a statement.
It's saying, hey, we're not afraid to stand out, to push boundaries, and to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. And that's refreshing to see in an industry that often feels stagnant.
Well said, Maya. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. It's been a fascinating journey exploring this phone and all it has to offer, and we hope you, our listeners, found it just as engaging. To all our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to Tech Dose by Review Hub. As always, we appreciate your insights and we encourage you to share your thoughts and comments about the Nothing Phone 3a Pro below. Until next time, stay curious and stay tech savvy.